First story. Am I the a-hole here for telling my wife there's nothing inappropriate about being in the delivery room for my sister, and she cannot forbid me from doing it? Last week, my sister asked if I could be in delivery room with her when she gives birth. I was surprised with the request and asked about her husband, and she said she and her husband are going through some issues. She also said her husband freaks out a lot and she wasn't sure he could handle this. I then asked about our mom, and she said she didn't want to put any more burden on our mom. I asked my sister if she was sure about it, and my sister said I was always her first choice because growing up, she always felt safe and protected with me and knew nothing could go wrong. She said she would be completely stress-free if I was in the room with her. I know pregnancy can be daunting, and I told my sister sure, but I wanted to speak to my wife about it. My sister thanked me a lot. I then spoke to my wife about it, and my wife was shocked with my sister's request. She said it was completely inappropriate, and she's never once in her life heard of a brother being in the sister's delivery room. I told my wife there's nothing inappropriate about it, and my sister is just going through a hard time. Ultimately, all we want is a smooth pregnancy with no complications, and that can happen in a stress-free environment. My wife and I spoke about it some more, and I was getting exasperated. I finally told my wife she cannot forbid me from being there for my family. Am I the a-hole here? Comment A. Ask any labor and delivery nurse, and every single one will tell you that the woman giving birth has the only say on what guests can be in that room, within hospital policy limits on how many people can be in the room. Nurses will physically remove people if the situation calls for it. Does your wife think you're going to be staring at her coochie the entire time? Lol, not the a-hole. Comment B. Not the a-hole, holding your sister's hand while going through a painful and terrifying experience is pretty much the definition of a good brother. Your wife should be so lucky to have a sibling willing to do this and be grateful she has a husband who takes care of his family. Seriously, if he is this good a brother, he is likely a good husband too. Yep, that was 100% my thought on it. OP's wife needs it explained that the stability, patience, and cool-headedness in a crisis she appreciates about her husband are the exact same reasons his sister wants him in her delivery room. It's about that stability and calm in a storm presence in a scary and unpredictable situation is all. Nothing unhealthy about that. Comment C. For real. Honestly, he's not even the first brother in history to hold his sister's hand during labor. There have been thousands of situations throughout time where a brother has had to do it out of necessity, mothers need to feel safe, or countless other reasons. And let's not talk about the number of situations where a baby has been caught by an uncle during delivery. I'm married to a genuinely good guy like this. I count my blessings every day because I know that he's going to do the right thing for someone we both care about. Your wife doesn't realize what a lucky woman she is. Comment D. Not the a-hole. Your sister feels safe with you there, and that's all that should matter. Agree. I get why the wife questions it. Maybe she's never seen a birth and doesn't know how traumatic it is. I, male, was in the room when my friend delivered her daughter. This was 20 years ago, so I don't know how it's done now, but I was up by her head and I didn't see anything below the waist. They had her like draped, where you couldn't see anything. Believe me when I say there wasn't anything sexy about the whole process. She was crushing my hand and sort of pulling me into her armpit. Then she pulled her gown up and her boob was kind of out. I thought maybe she didn't know and went to pull it back down and, well, I almost died that day. So don't try to adjust her clothes. Seriously, it's apparently a huge faux pas. The delivery was a bit of a struggle, but when she came out, she really came out. The whole thing was intense, and even I was sweating by the end. Comment E. I'm a midwife and had one lady in labor having an IVF baby. No partner. When I went in the room, her elderly mom and dad were supporting her. She was stark naked laboring. 3 hours later, her brother turned up to support her too. She had a lovely delivery with her brother videoing it. It's your sister's labor, not your wife's. If she wants you there and you're happy to support, then go for it. Exactly. Childbirth is not sexual. OP is not the a-hole. His wife is weird. I've given birth. It is not sexual at all. The amount of pain and stress involved, no one is thinking anything remotely sexual. You're just trying to get through it. Comment F. I am not caught up on pregnancy room etiquette, but sounds like you're not the a-hole. I can see why your wife might think it a bit weird, but sounds like you are just someone your sister can trust. Maybe have your sister talk to your wife about it so she can ease her mind. Pregnancy room etiquette is pretty much if the lady in labor wants you to be there and you're comfortable with it, you should be there. Otherwise, stay the F out. As a lady who just went through it, both my sisters were top choice if my husband couldn't for whatever reason, but he could, thank God. I don't actually think it's okay to ask the sister to talk to the wife. She shouldn't need to justify feeling safe with her brother or OP's wife attacking her for being inappropriate. There's nothing sexy or sexual about labor either. This is entirely OP's wife either being insecure or having different experiences based on her family. OP can ask her to have more discussion, but no, his wife needs to just accept this at face value. Maybe appreciate that OP's sister feels that safe with him. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling a woman to stop humming during a classical music concert? My fiance and I enjoy going to live classical music concerts as a special date night. Yesterday, I spent $110 on 2 front row seats for holiday music we were excited for. Not even 15 seconds after the music started, the woman directly behind me began loudly humming with the music. At first, I tried to ignore it, hoping she'd stop, but she just kept going. It wasn't subtle, it was loud. You could see her being overly touchy with her husband as well, and she was clearly drunk. The husband at one point said something around the lines of her needing to stop as it's not polite, but the wife laughed it off. But I was becoming incredibly mad at this point. I'm not a confrontational guy. I hate confrontation. But I was just brewing the entire time. But my fiancé seemed to not have directly noticed, so I didn't want to cause a scene or ruin her night. But 30 minutes into the concert, I told my fiancé I needed to say something. I can't hear the music, and I was frustrated. That's when my fiancé noticed and told me it's okay and not to make a scene. Maybe 5 minutes later, the woman behind me begins singing, straight singing. If you're not familiar with classical music etiquette, you don't sing, you don't hum, you don't make sound, you don't tap your feet. This is when I turned around, directly looked at the woman and said, "Ma'am, please stop." The woman looked confused, asked me to repeat, and I said, "Ma'am, please stop. I've been listening to you the entire concert." She then hand-waved me away out of embarrassment. The husband didn't even want to look at me. He looked embarrassed. I could hear others laughing after I said that to her. You could hear the whispers of others giggling and repeating what I said to their significant other. But guess what? She didn't stop. She tapped me on the shoulders 5 minutes later to apologize, and I waved her away. I didn't want to accept any apology. I was frustrated, and I didn't want to acknowledge her. If it wasn't for my fiancé being able to enjoy most of the show, I would have asked for a refund or for someone to ask her to leave. But I do feel bad because my fiancé, now more tuned to the sound, she became frustrated with the humming. The woman was directly next to my ear, but my fiancé, though next to me, was just a bit further, and at an angle that made it as to why she didn't notice at first. But she then said something to the woman asking her to be quiet. And again, no change. Honestly, when the concert ended at the hour mark, I didn't want to look at that woman. I didn't want to do anything but leave. I paid $110 to listen to a woman hum in my ear for an hour. It was a lesson in patience, but not in a good way. So, Reddit, am I the a-hole for telling her to stop? Should I have escalated it to staff or handled it differently? I genuinely am not a confrontational guy. I've never been in this position before. It makes me incredibly uncomfortable, so for me to have said anything is very out of character. Comment A, not the a-hole. We've all been there. Some annoying nonsense when you paid good money for tickets, then on top of it the concern that if you bring it up to others, that it might ruin the experience for them. Maddening. Gently, fiancé was wrong. You weren't making a scene. Misha Brugger-Gossman was. Shout out to our Canuck cantante. You did nothing wrong by addressing the woman's outrageous behavior directly. Next time, you might decide to ask an usher to deal with her. Thanks, I agree about the usher. In retrospect, I should have asked an usher much and dealt with it much earlier. You handled well, under the circumstances. I would not describe your approach as confrontational. I agree. OP handled it fairly well. I feel like by not telling the usher, though, it escalated more because she was too drunk to be at the venue, and the venue needs to be notified if they don't notice. Comment B, not the a-hole, but this is when you, as quietly and politely as possible, move to the end of the row, find an usher or other person with authority, and lodge a complaint. Especially someone drunk, they'll generally take care of it for you. Comment C, not the a-hole, she shouldn't have shown up drunk. You had every right to ask her to stop. No one wants to hear a drunk person at a classical concert. I'm amazed an usher didn't kick her out when she started singing. Next time, get an usher and do try and get a refund. You didn't get to hear the concert, you didn't get what you'd paid for. She probably ruined other people's nights too. Comment D, not the a-hole, and you're absolutely correct about classical music etiquette. For what it's worth, I also can't stand this behavior at rock concerts. I know the vibe is very different, but I resent paying money to hear the show when half the audience is singing along with the vocals. Usually not very well either. Comment E, not the a-hole. As a classical musician, I don't practice and perfect my craft for people like this to ruin it for others. And it's exactly why I paid money to hear that music, not to hear someone hum in my ear. The musicians were so good too. Comment F, not the a-hole at all. I can't believe she didn't stop after you made her aware of how disruptive she was being. I would have been unable to stop myself from saying something again, or asking her partner to please help talk some sense into her. People have become beyond rude at concerts. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not getting my ex's affair child a Christmas gift? My ex cheated on me and fathered a child with another woman. That child is now 4 female. He has full custody of her and is going for child support, but the mom isn't paying. I have primary custody of our 3 children, 11 male, 9 female, 9 male. He gets our kids every other weekend. I have only seen this child 5 times and I don't have a relationship of any kind with her. I never interacted with her, and while I know she's innocent of what my ex did, I prefer to keep us distant. My kids don't think of her as a sister. I never tried to change that. For me, them being close to her is not something I care about. If they are, then they are, and I'd have to deal. But if not, then I don't feel the need to encourage or promote it. My ex knows this, and he knows our kids don't care for his daughter. They don't have the best relationship with him either. He's not absent exactly, but he's been all over the place since the divorce. And he works a lot of long hours and lives almost 2 hours from us, which is partly why he's not a 50-50 dad. My ex lost his job in January of this year. He notified the courts and his child support payment was reduced for our kids while he's not earning as much. The change in job and pay has meant he's struggled far more, and the kids have noticed the difference in quality of life when they're with him. He also warned them months ago that they would get a small Christmas gift each from him because he cannot afford more. This leads on to his daughter. His parents died some years before our kids were born. His sister doesn't talk to him. His brother stopped talking to him after the affair, and the child's mother's family's not involved in her life either. So it's just him for her, and he can't afford to get her much. He mentioned this in our co-parenting app, and when we went to meet with our twins' teacher, he asked if I would get her something so she can have some presents to open for Christmas. I told him no. He didn't ask me again until yesterday. He had the kids at the weekend and dropped them off at my house afterward. He saw the gifts under the tree, and he was angry at me. He asked if I got his daughter anything, and I said no. He asked me what our kids got, and I wouldn't tell him. I reminded him it was none of his business what I buy. Then he took out this dollar store doll, and he told me that was all he could effing afford for his daughter, and she's just 4 years old. He told me he knows he effed up, but she didn't. And he told me I could have helped, just a little, or could have helped the kids get close to her, and maybe they would have wanted to give her something. He said instead I was just a cruel and selfish woman to an innocent child, and he said she only knows being abandoned by her mom and her mom's family. She's unwanted by her own siblings. And her siblings' mom can't even be compassionate enough to get her one more thing so she doesn't just get one tiny doll for Christmas. He also put it on me that if he got our kids nothing because he knew I'd get them something and spent that money on his daughter instead, that it would make them pull away from him more. He left angry and I went back inside and carried on as normal. I know I'm not a saint for this and I don't pretend to be. But am I the a-hole for not getting the child something for Christmas when I know my ex can't afford anything else? Comment A. Not the a-hole. It's not your responsibility to fix the mess your ex created. He needs to figure out how to provide for his daughter without guilt-tripping you. It's sad for the child, but this isn't on you. I mean, she is 4. Just make it memorable. Spend time with her, watch Christmas movies, bake goods, and crap. Come up with a plan with OP for next year and a plan to get closer to the siblings if the wife allows it. But Jesus, man, he needs to grow the hell up. Stop blaming everyone else. Given that he sounds like a selfish prick, I doubt that will happen since it requires some reflection. Comment B. The cheater could have found even a temporary job if he needed money for gifts. To pin his kid's lack of gifts on you is childish and petty. Not the a-hole. This is something I'll never understand. I've been out of work and needed something quick to pay the bills and got a job in fast food until I got something in my industry again. Beggars can't be choosers and all that. He could deliver food for Grubhub for an hour and make $15 to buy a gift. He could go on CrowdTap and grind enough surveys for an Amazon gift card. Hell, I would even get a $100 loan from a predatory cash advance place if I had to. This guy just sucks. Comment C. The only selfish person here is your ex. The audacity to get mad at you is just beyond. Not the a-hole. Tell him next time he wants to curse at you for not doing his job for him to do so on the parenting app so you'll have it documented. The biggest plus of being divorced is that you don't have to subject yourself to his cruelty and selfishness. Comment D. I wouldn't get her anything. It's not your responsibility. Your ex can contact Toys for Tots or another nonprofit and ask for something, or go on Marketplace or shop at thrift stores. He should have thought of the consequences when he dipped his stick elsewhere. Did he get his 3 other kids anything? No. He should make any effort. He's not entitled. It's the way he fell back on me instead of reaching out to his siblings or trying to get the actual mom's family involved.